You did not arrive at this moment by chance, even if part of you still wants to believe it was nothing more than curiosity. Before your mind decided to press play, something much deeper had already responded to an invitation your conscious thoughts could not yet recognize. That is why the date of July 24th carries a different weight than an ordinary day. It arrives with a presence that quietly calls to those whose inner awareness is ready to awaken. Not everyone feels that call. Not everyone notices it. Yet somehow you did. That alone should tell you this experience is unfolding according to a design far more intricate than coincidence. The universe rarely reveals its messages to everyone at the same time. Instead, it places them before the people whose journey has reached the exact point where those truths can finally be understood. If these words have found you today, it is because your energy has synchronized with something that has been patiently waiting beneath the surface of your life. Something timeless, invisible, and powerful enough to reshape the direction of everything that follows. You may not have language for it yet, but deep within yourself, there is already a quiet awareness beginning to awaken, asking you to pay attention before the next chapter fully reveals itself. Before we move any further, however, there is one truth that deserves your complete attention, because it changes the way breakthrough should be understood. Many people spend their lives searching for signs, while overlooking the fact that genuine transformation is never built upon signs alone. Whenever the universe prepares someone for an entirely new level of existence, it also introduces the instruments necessary to support that transformation. It begins placing opportunities, ideas, encounters, and unexpected resources directly along that person's path. These are not random gifts. They exist to reshape perception itself, allowing you to think differently, recognize possibilities that once remained invisible, and develop a completely new relationship with prosperity and abundance. Perhaps recently you have found yourself thinking more seriously about financial freedom, wondering whether you are finally ready to leave limitation behind and step into a version of success that once seemed beyond reach. If those thoughts have been growing stronger, understand that they are not disconnected from your spiritual evolution. They are expressions of the very same awakening. Expansion in the external world often begins with expansion inside the soul, and both movements belong to the same unfolding process. This is why dismissing what you are experiencing would mean overlooking something profoundly significant. Messages like this are not scattered carelessly across the world. They reach only those whose inner timing has aligned with their purpose. Since you are here now, resist the temptation to move on before listening completely. Resist the impulse to convince yourself that this feeling is merely imagination. If there is even the slightest stirring inside your heart, an almost impossible to explain sense of recognition, then part of you already understands that these words belong to your journey. Pause for a brief moment and allow yourself to become fully present with that realization. Let your awareness settle instead of racing ahead. If that recognition continues growing stronger, affirm it openly by saying, "I am ready," and choose to subscribe, because what follows is not meant to function as ordinary entertainment or casual information. It serves as an energetic activation, an invitation to step into a completely different state of consciousness. The frequency surrounding July 24th represents far more than another page on the calendar. It marks a portal, a crossing between everything that has shaped your life until now, and everything waiting just beyond your present awareness. Ignoring what is unfolding during this period may cause you to overlook a breakthrough that has been gathering momentum through experiences stretching far beyond what your present lifetime can fully remember. There are seasons when life appears to move according to your personal choices, and then there are far rarer moments when a greater intelligence quietly arranges those choices before you even realize they have been made. Coming here today belongs to that second category. This was not simply a decision created by habit or curiosity. Something greater than logic, stronger than perfect timing, and far beyond ordinary coincidence, gently drew you toward this exact message. Long before your thoughts understood why, your soul recognized the importance of this encounter. Have you ever noticed how certain conversations, books, people, or messages seem to appear at precisely the moment your life needs them most, never arriving too early and never arriving too late? Almost as though reality itself reorganized every circumstance necessary to place them directly before you. That pattern is not accidental. It is the unmistakable signature of alignment. It is the universe adjusting invisible pathways just enough to ensure that what belongs in your awareness can no longer remain hidden. At this very moment, you stand before a threshold that cannot be reversed once crossed. What comes next will either expand the boundaries of your reality or leave you repeating cycles that were never intended to become your permanent story. The energetic pressure surrounding your life has not appeared overnight. It has been steadily increasing, growing stronger with each passing day, and evidence of that transformation has already begun revealing itself in subtle ways. Perhaps you noticed those signs only to dismiss them. Perhaps doubt convinced you they meant nothing, yet they continued appearing because they were never gentle suggestions offered for consideration. They were unmistakable signals asking for your attention. The earliest indication of profound change rarely feels comfortable. It often arrives by interrupting familiar routines rather than comforting them. Instead of asking politely for permission, it introduces an uncomfortable awareness that something no longer fits, even though outward appearances seem exactly the same as they always have. You may have experienced unexplained restlessness, unexpected irritation, emotional sensitivity that seems disconnected from any obvious cause, or an almost physical sensation that something inside you is changing without revealing exactly what it is. It is easy to mistake these experiences for confusion, but they are not evidence of chaos. They are evidence that recalibration has already begun. Whenever your energy starts expanding beyond the limitations of your current reality, resistance naturally appears because everything connected to your old identity attempts to preserve itself. Familiar habits resist. Comfortable beliefs resist. Even the environments that once felt safe begin losing their sense of belonging. Conversations become unexpectedly heavy. Places that once brought comfort suddenly feel unfamiliar. Relationships that previously felt harmonious may now seem strangely distant, exhausting, or impossible to understand. None of this happens because the universe wishes to punish you. It happens because pressure becomes the force that encourages movement whenever growth can no longer remain contained. If you refuse to acknowledge that pressure, if you bury it beneath endless distractions, numb yourself against it, or repeatedly convince yourself that nothing meaningful is happening, you postpone the very breakthrough that this discomfort has been patiently preparing to deliver, and that realization becomes the doorway into everything that must be understood next. What if the very discomfort you have been trying so hard to escape is actually the clearest evidence that something extraordinary is already moving beneath the surface of your life? Most people believe peace always arrives first and transformation follows afterward. But the universe often works in the opposite direction. It creates tension before release, uncertainty before clarity, and movement before understanding. That is why the uneasiness you are feeling now should not immediately be mistaken for failure or collapse. You are not falling apart. You are being shifted into a position where the next stage of your journey can finally begin. You have certainly experienced difficult seasons before. You have known confusion, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. Yet this experience carries a different atmosphere, one that is much harder to dismiss. There is a quiet intensity surrounding this moment, a feeling that something larger than your ordinary routine has drawn close, almost as though an invisible presence is patiently observing whether you will lean into the unknown or retreat back into familiar comfort. That sensation exists because the timing of this moment reaches beyond what your conscious mind can currently understand. July 24th represents an extraordinary convergence where spiritual movement, energetic momentum, and cosmic timing overlap simultaneously. Several cycles are reaching completion, while entirely new ones are beginning to emerge, placing you directly at the point where those realities separate. Before you lies a choice that may appear invisible to everyone else, yet your soul recognizes it immediately. One direction returns you to patterns you already know, repeating the same emotional lessons, the same predictable struggles, and the same comforting illusion that remaining where you are somehow guarantees safety, even though that safety quietly prevents growth. The other direction asks you to walk toward uncertainty, toward expansion, toward the version of yourself you have sensed in fleeting moments, but have never fully allowed yourself to become. The universe will never remove that freedom from you. It does not demand obedience or force awakening upon anyone. Instead, it patiently places signs along the path and waits for the moment when you decide to truly see them. The next indication of alignment does not announce itself dramatically. Instead, it quietly threads itself through your daily experience until its presence becomes impossible to overlook. You begin noticing repeating numbers appearing again and again without explanation. Certain words continue finding you through completely unrelated situations. Songs seem to speak directly into your private emotions, as though someone somehow understood exactly what your heart was carrying. Conversations unexpectedly mirror thoughts you never shared with another person. Encounters unfold with timing so astonishingly precise that dismissing them as accidents becomes increasingly difficult. These experiences are not random events scattered across your life. They are part of an ongoing conversation. The universe rarely communicates through ordinary language because logic alone cannot always carry the messages your soul needs most. Instead, it speaks through repetition, symbolic experiences, meaningful patterns, and moments of perfect alignment that bypass the analytical mind and connect directly with your deeper awareness. If you stop for a moment and honestly reflect on the past several days or weeks, you may realize those moments have become far more frequent than they once were. You noticed them. You questioned them. Perhaps you even convinced yourself they meant nothing. Yet beneath every explanation your rational mind created, another quieter voice continued whispering that something important was unfolding. That deeper part of you already understands that your attention is being gently redirected. It recognizes that these repeating experiences are pointing toward something you are meant to notice, comprehend, or finally act upon. Every time you consciously acknowledge one of these synchronistic moments, your connection with that guidance becomes stronger, clearer, and more unmistakable. When you repeatedly ignore them, however, they gradually become quieter until the opportunity passes unnoticed. Choosing to follow these signs often opens possibilities you never realized existed because they were invisible until your awareness expanded enough to recognize them. Somewhere beyond the limits of this present moment, another version of you already exists. That future self has already embraced the decision you continue postponing today. That future self has already stepped into greater alignment, accepted the awakening you are only beginning to sense, and crossed the threshold that currently feels uncertain from where you stand. Although you cannot hear that future version speaking through ordinary words, you continue feeling its presence through intuition, through unexplained certainty, and through the persistent inner pull that keeps bringing your awareness back to truth, back to self-recognition, and back to moments exactly like this one. Reality is not confined to the straight line most people imagine. From an energetic perspective, every possibility exists simultaneously. That means your future self is not passively waiting somewhere ahead for you to arrive. Instead, it continually reaches backward, calling you toward the life it already knows is possible. Every meaningful sign entering your awareness belongs to that invitation. Every moment of recognition strengthens the bridge between who you have been and who you are becoming. Yet there is an important truth many people never fully understand. Opportunities for profound transformation do not remain available indefinitely. Certain energetic windows eventually close, and the invitations that once appeared so clearly begin fading into the background if they are repeatedly ignored. By now, you have already felt the internal disruption. You have already begun recognizing meaningful patterns appearing throughout your life. You have already sensed that something larger than ordinary circumstance is quietly unfolding around you. Still, one final indication remains, and it carries more force than anything you have experienced so far. Unlike the previous signs, it refuses to remain subtle. It does not gently encourage reflection or patiently wait while you postpone your response. It arrives with undeniable clarity, demanding that you make a choice while leaving almost no room for denial, hesitation, or avoidance. That moment is approaching much faster than you realize, and when it appears, you will recognize it not merely with your thoughts, but with every part of your being. Before revealing what that final sign truly represents, there is something you must fully understand. Once your awareness identifies it, returning to your previous way of seeing life will no longer be possible. From that point forward, your response becomes the defining factor. It determines whether July 24th fades into memory as another ordinary date, or becomes the moment you forever remember as the beginning of an entirely different reality. Remain fully present, because everything that has been building until now is leading directly into what comes next. The third sign does not arrive with quiet symbolism or gentle reminders like those before it. It enters your life with undeniable presence, becoming an experience that refuses to be overlooked or escaped. And once it appears, nothing inside you will remain exactly the same. There comes a point when awareness no longer arrives as a quiet suggestion, but as a truth so unmistakable that every excuse you have been using suddenly loses its power. It enters your life with such precision that doubt has nowhere left to hide, dissolving every layer of uncertainty you once believed was protecting you. This is the moment when something in the world around you changes so clearly that pretending not to notice is no longer possible. It may appear through an ending you never expected, an opportunity that arrives without warning, a conversation that forces long-avoided truths into the open, or a revelation unfolding with such astonishing accuracy that calling it coincidence becomes impossible. Whatever form it takes, the meaning remains exactly the same. The universe is no longer speaking through subtle hints or quiet symbols. It steps directly into your path and delivers a single, unmistakable message. Now, before your thoughts can organize an explanation, your body recognizes what is happening. You may feel your heartbeat shift, your chest tighten, or a powerful wave of awareness move through you, as though every experience, every emotion, and every unanswered question has suddenly gathered into one defining instant. This is not an isolated event appearing without purpose. It is the culmination of everything that has been unfolding beneath the surface. Every earlier sign, every uncomfortable feeling, every meaningful coincidence, every invisible thread of alignment finally converges into one undeniable point of truth. From that instant forward, your response becomes the force that shapes everything waiting beyond it. Many people imagine that experiences like this belong only to a select few, but that belief could not be further from reality. This third sign enters countless lives, yet very few people truly recognize it, because doing so demands something most individuals struggle to offer. It asks for immediate trust, expressed through decisive action. The opening becomes visible. The direction suddenly feels unmistakably clear. Yet almost immediately another voice begins to rise. Doubt quietly enters the conversation. Logic starts questioning what intuition has already accepted without hesitation. The mind begins searching for additional proof, greater comfort, perfect certainty, or one more sign before taking the next step. While those thoughts appear reasonable, they often become the very mechanism through which extraordinary opportunities disappear. The doorway does not close because the universe withdraws it. It closes because no one walks through it while it remains open. Later, people reflect on those moments with regret, remembering how deeply they sensed something important, how clearly they recognized the invitation, and how they still remained motionless until the opportunity quietly vanished. This is how so many breakthroughs are lost, not because possibility failed to appear, but because recognition failed to become action during the brief window when everything was perfectly aligned. Understand that this is not simply an opportunity arriving at your doorstep. It is also a confirmation of readiness. Many people misunderstand the purpose of moments like these because they associate every test with the possibility of failure. The universe does not present this experience in order to prove your inadequacy. Instead, it reveals whether your inner state truly matches everything you have been asking to receive. Every dream you have carried silently within yourself, every future you have imagined during difficult nights, every hope, every vision, and every prayer released into the unseen has gradually led you toward this exact point. Now the central question changes completely. It is no longer about whether those desires are capable of reaching you. Instead, it becomes whether you are prepared to fully enter them when they finally arrive. The universe does not respond to spoken intentions alone. It responds to genuine alignment. And alignment only becomes visible when it transforms into action. That is why the emotional pressure surrounding this period feels unusually powerful. That is why your energy seems amplified, and why circumstances appear to be converging from multiple directions all at once. You are standing at the place where desire must become movement, where vision must become decision, and where everything imagined internally must begin expressing itself outwardly. As this third sign moves closer, another powerful force naturally rises alongside it, carrying an entirely different vibration. That force is fear. Not the obvious fear that announces itself dramatically and can easily be identified, but the quieter version that disguises itself as wisdom, responsibility, caution, and careful planning. It gently encourages you to postpone your decision. It recommends gathering more information, waiting for perfect conditions, or spending just a little more time analyzing every possible outcome. On the surface, these thoughts sound intelligent and practical. Yet their true nature becomes obvious when you notice exactly when they appear. They emerge precisely when clarity has already arrived. They appear at the exact moment your path becomes visible. They speak most loudly while the opportunity remains open before you, and their only purpose is to delay your movement until the opening quietly disappears. This is the final layer of resistance separating your present reality from the life waiting beyond it. More importantly, this resistance does not originate from the outside world. It comes from within, from the parts of yourself that still cling to familiarity simply because it feels predictable, even when that familiar reality no longer reflects who you are becoming. Yet while fear continues presenting arguments for hesitation, another presence quietly remains inside you, completely untouched by panic or confusion. That presence is your intuition. Unlike fear, it does not compete for attention. It does not raise its voice. It does not rush, negotiate, or attempt to convince you. It simply knows. It has been leading you through every previous sign, every uncomfortable adjustment, every meaningful coincidence, and every moment of awakening that has guided you here. Right now, its guidance is clearer than it has ever been before. The greatest challenge has never been your inability to hear that inner wisdom. The challenge has been learning to trust it after spending so much of your life believing external validation mattered more than your own deepest knowing. You were taught to question your instincts, to replace inner certainty with outside approval, and to wait until someone else confirmed what your soul had already recognized. Yet moments like this change everything, because intuition begins rising above every competing voice. It separates itself from confusion with remarkable clarity, offering a quiet certainty that asks for no explanation and requires no debate. When you encounter that unmistakable sense of knowing beneath every fear, beneath every distraction, and beneath every lingering doubt, recognize it for what it truly is. It is the one signal that carries the greatest importance, and it is the one message you cannot afford to ignore as everything prepares to move into its next unfolding stage. Nothing about what you are experiencing right now exists in isolation. Every sign that has crossed your path, every wave of pressure you have struggled to explain, every subtle change unfolding within your thoughts has been building toward this precise point for a reason. The growing intensity surrounding your life is not random, nor is it something your imagination has invented. It is directly connected to the unique, energetic atmosphere of July 24th. This date is far more than another place on the calendar. It represents an energetic threshold where higher frequencies become easier to access, where spiritual alignment becomes significantly more available, and where opportunities for profound breakthroughs emerge with a level of precision that does not exist during ordinary moments. You are not standing outside this energy, simply observing it from a distance. You are actively participating in it, whether you fully realize that yet or not. Every experience unfolding inside you is evidence that this frequency is already interacting with your consciousness. Your awareness is stretching beyond its previous limits. Your ability to recognize meaningful patterns is becoming sharper. Your sensitivity toward alignment is increasing in ways that naturally make every emotion, every realization, and every encounter feel stronger than before. If life has recently seemed unusually intense, understand that you are not imagining those sensations, nor are you creating unnecessary worry through overthinking. You are responding to a genuine energetic shift unfolding simultaneously within your inner world and throughout the reality surrounding you. That movement is not appearing without purpose. It is quietly arranging everything necessary for what is preparing to unfold next. Whether you believe you are prepared or still feel uncertain about your future, you are steadily approaching a crossroads that cannot simply be avoided or ignored. This is not one of those periods where remaining passive allows life to continue unchanged. Instead, you have arrived at a point where two entirely different futures begin separating from one another, and a decision will inevitably be made, either through conscious intention or through unconscious inaction. If you continue dismissing the signs that have appeared before you, if you repeatedly silence the discomfort, asking for your attention, if you overlook the meaningful patterns woven throughout your daily experiences, and if hesitation controls your response when the defining moment finally arrives, your current path will continue exactly as it has until now. Life will certainly move forward, but it will not carry you toward the breakthrough presently being placed within your reach. Yet another possibility remains equally available. If you choose to recognize the guidance that has consistently appeared before you, if you allow yourself to trust the unfolding process instead of resisting it, and if you respond when the decisive moment calls your name, everything begins moving along an entirely different direction. That new path naturally aligns with the version of yourself that has quietly existed within your potential all along, patiently waiting for the day you finally become willing to meet it. Throughout every lifetime, there are experiences that seem important while they are happening. And then there are those extraordinarily rare moments that permanently divide existence into everything that came before and everything that follows afterward. Once they are fully understood, they cannot simply be forgotten or reversed. This belongs to that second kind of moment, the instant you truly recognize what has been unfolding around you, the instant you genuinely feel what has begun awakening within your own spirit, and the instant you grasp the significance of everything now coming together. Returning to your previous level of awareness becomes impossible. You may attempt to convince yourself nothing has changed. You may even try returning to old habits simply because they once felt familiar and comfortable. Yet something inside you will refuse to cooperate, because awakened awareness cannot willingly return to unconsciousness. That is precisely why the emotional intensity surrounding this experience feels so overwhelming. You are not merely being offered the possibility of change. You are entering the beginning of genuine transformation, and transformation never waits politely for permission. It asks for participation, commitment, and willingness. Should you decide to honor the signs placed before you embrace the discomfort instead of fearing it, continue following the synchronistic patterns guiding your attention and take decisive action when the third unmistakable sign finally presents itself. A remarkable shift naturally begins unfolding. Opportunities that once appeared permanently closed gradually reveal unexpected openings. Confusion slowly gives way to unmistakable clarity. The heavy stillness that once defined your life is replaced by meaningful momentum. Step by step, you begin moving into greater harmony with a future that previously seemed distant, uncertain, or almost impossible to imagine. This does not promise a life completely free from challenges or obstacles. Difficult moments will still appear, because growth always asks something of you. What changes is your relationship with those experiences. Instead of feeling disconnected and meaningless, they begin fitting together like pieces of a much larger design. You suddenly recognize how every disappointment prepared you for greater wisdom. You understand how every delay strengthened your readiness. You realize every season of uncertainty quietly shaped the person capable of receiving everything now arriving before you. That is the true nature of breakthrough. It is not flawless perfection arriving overnight. It is the unmistakable feeling that every part of your life has finally begun moving in harmony with who you were always becoming. Yet another possibility remains if the signs continue to be ignored. Should fear repeatedly overpower intuition? Should hesitation replace action once again? And should this defining moment pass without response, the energy itself does not disappear. Instead, it simply redirects elsewhere. The opening gradually closes. The clarity that once seemed undeniable slowly dissolves. Before long, you find yourself standing inside the same familiar cycles, asking the same unanswered questions, and carrying the same quiet feeling that something essential is still missing. Certainly, another opportunity may appear somewhere further along your journey, but it will not be this one. It will not arrive carrying the identical precision, the same energetic harmony, or the same perfectly aligned timing now available before you. That is exactly why moments like this deserve your complete attention. Not because they represent the only opportunity you will ever receive, but because they represent the greatest alignment presently available to you. Allowing that opportunity to pass does more than postpone your breakthrough. It strengthens the very patterns that prevented your breakthrough from arriving sooner. Even as these words move through your awareness, something inside you has already begun making a choice. Perhaps you have not fully expressed it with language yet. Perhaps your mind has not organized it into complete understanding. Still, you can already sense its presence. There is a quiet movement taking place beneath your thoughts, gently pulling you toward what feels increasingly authentic, while inviting you to release what no longer resonates with your deepest truth. This is how alignment always begins. It does not arrive through dramatic announcements or overwhelming certainty. It begins with a subtle inner knowing that gradually grows stronger every time you choose to acknowledge its presence. The more honestly you allow yourself to trust that quiet certainty, the more naturally the direction before you becomes unmistakably clear. What feels like a decision forming today is not actually being created for the first time. It has existed within you all along, and is only now revealing itself through greater awareness. Every experience that shaped your journey, every challenge that strengthened your spirit, Every meaningful sign that quietly guided your attention has been leading toward this exact point. Never believe you somehow wandered into this moment accidentally. The universe does not orchestrate alignment with this level of precision without purpose. It does not patiently guide someone through layer after layer of awakening, only to abandon them before the destination becomes visible. Your presence here carries meaning. The reason you are witnessing these messages carries meaning. The emotions awakening inside you carry meaning. Everything exists because you are meant to recognize it and ultimately respond to it. Now only one question remains before you. Will you trust the truth already rising within your own awareness enough to move when it calls you forward? Every feeling that has quietly accompanied you, every pattern that has repeatedly appeared throughout your life, and every invisible force building around you has been guiding everything toward one final realization. Soon, every piece will come together with unmistakable clarity. The discomfort that first unsettled you, the synchronistic patterns that repeatedly captured your attention, and the undeniable moment of truth waiting just ahead will unite into one complete understanding that can no longer be ignored. When that instant finally arrives, recognition will not require explanation, because certainty itself will replace every remaining doubt. Stay fully present, because everything unfolding until now has only been preparing you for the next stage, and what happens there will become the foundation upon which everything that follows is built.